How's everyone doing? We've got 20.3 strategy and tips. I got Adrian Conway with me. Guess what it is, right? You guessed it, 20.3 is 18.4. We got a lot of exciting things to talk about.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool repeat. I think high skilled. You got barbell cycling, handstand walking, those handstand push-ups. Big question is, have you gotten better?
Right. Have you gotten better, and have you adapted to the standard?
Right.
I mean, that's like the first thing I want.
Back.
It's back. What
Yes.
What is going on, HQ? You were just trying to throw us jabs, right? All these long-armed, long-forearmed people, throw them to the wayside. It's done. I think the workout's really exciting. I love it. Like you said, high skill. I know you pay attention a little bit to Dave Castro's Instagram, right?
I
a
do,
little bit.
Yeah.
I have no idea, Dave, if you ever watch any of these videos, what you meant by your hint. I'm always trying to search for a meaning, but I'll tell you what. It was like it looked like the inside of a boat blown up. I assumed maybe we'd get rowing, something short, high intensity, low skill. Yeah. And he throws skill at us right out the gate. So it's like I'm excited.
Yeah, and you mentioned maybe it was a 2K row, which would have been
devastating.
Right?
Just
painful.
Yeah, I would have.
But it wasn't. So maybe that's next week.
Yeah, I mean, it could be single modality. Yeah, I would weep as I executed the row if that were the case.
Yeah, right.
Nonetheless. All right, let's dive in. So what do we got, 20.3?
Yeah, so it's basically Diane followed by a heavier version of Diane, but instead of handstand push-ups, you got handstand walking. Pretty cool, right? So
absolutely.
I love it, right? It's partitioned in two formats. So you have Diane, which is a classic 21-15-9 deadlift, handstand push-up, right? Into the second half, which is 21-15-9 of deadlift, heavier, into handstand walking. So I really like it. The biggest thing that I remember and that I noticed is that you don't want to come out attacking this as if it's Diane, right? Because of that second half. And I think I remember back some years ago, and that's where people made a lot of mistakes.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So I think even watching the announcement, right, and seeing the pace at which some of those athletes came out was much slower than what they're capable of in an actual Diane, right?
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you guys go back and you watch any of this video, I think from the archives, either from years ago, if you got to experience it yourself, you likely had some of this happen to you where you either came out too hot, which maybe now we're back to the picture and it makes sense. Maybe people blow up on this workout, right? Like you blow up, I don't know. But nonetheless, it's something to consider where it's like, okay, how did this feel for you, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago? And how has your fitness improved? Specifically, I think a lot of things what we have to consider is like tricep and shoulder stamina, body 100%. Position, ability to breathe while we're upside down. But I think one of the biggest temptations is going to be to come out hot. Of course, your adrenaline's going to be flowing. You're going to be thinking about that 9-minute time cap, like, oh, it's tight. We're going to watch people and even elite athletes maybe not make it all the way. How far do you want to make it? You got to start a little bit more conservative than you want to in order even to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? Pacing, right? So yeah, I think looking at the complete total reps that you need to complete, not getting sucked into just that 21-15, Diane.
Exactly.
So if we start diving into preparation, right? Setup. What are some things that you think about when we have the barbell, obviously a wall, and the handstand walking?
Right. So first and foremost, you guys got to make sure that you're strategically set up with a judge and a friend or camera in a position so you know that, okay, first of all, you're going to do the appropriate measures so that you're set up for success. Make sure that your score gets appropriately validated. And then outside of that, it's like your barbell, your weights, and of course in this instance, if you guys have the resources, 2 barbells is optimal, right? Even having a buddy kind of load the bar for you, still happen chance, maybe you kick down off those handstand push-ups faster than they're able to transition the weight. So I would suggest if you have it, use 2 barbells for sure. We see that that's allowed, so execute on that. A belt, would be something for a lot of the community that you're going to need to consider. I think for people whom have good capacity and can hinge well, and can brace themselves well upside down, the belt may be more of a trap, like a place to lose time than an advantage. But it should probably be close on the floor no matter what, because it's like if you feel like you need it and it's too late and it's nowhere to be found, you're kind of...
Yeah, and if you think you might need it in that second half, you might think about putting it on loose, right? Not taking the time to put it on afterwards. So, but I think you're right, 100%. Breathing is a big consideration here, right? There's a lot of hinging. There's 90 repetitions of deadlifting, but it is metabolic, it is high breathing, and so just if you do use a belt, just be conscious that you're not cinching that up too tightly. Hopefully you know how to use a belt. There's plenty of resources out there just to kind of give you some hints. So maybe in the warm up, test that out.
Yep.
I think that's a good strategy for there. You mentioned 2 barbells. I know years ago we had folks rolling barbells in, barbells out, loading them, things like that. I think is a big part of it.
Absolutely.
The setup, I think, can be pretty close. So I think a really successful setup. And the announcements are always set up as a little bit more traditional. I would call it regional floor, but you guys have an advantage where you don't have to abide by that. So I think that setting up the barbell at 90-degree angle, which allows you to get back to the wall and back to that barbell, it flows really well, especially when you're filming this, which is a big consideration.
Big consideration, yeah.
Huge, right? You'll be able to get that full extension shown, with that deadlift, and also that full extension with those heels over the line. And I can't emphasize that enough. Read the rules on the forearm measurement. Make sure you're showing that. It threw a lot of folks, 3 years ago? I want to say 2, but it's
technically 2, just 2.
Totally. For a loop. So
Yeah, I agree. So, be mindful of all those things strategy-wise and setup-wise. I think every week you're going to put a warm-up up so that you guys can be looking at the information below this video that we've provided, and that's going to be there for you to kind of click through and look through. Of course, don't reinvent the wheel with anything that we suggest, but it's going to be a great template and an outline for ways that you should be preparing your body. From a general standpoint, Nick, what are some considerations before this workout that they need to do just to feel ready?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I think of is thoracic extension and just lower lumbar. So make sure that you're getting that warmed up, right? Lower lumbar, and I'm thinking handstand push-ups, right? So just make sure that the position that you have set up is comfortable, that you're used to, right? You don't want to be messing around with that. So part of the warm-up is going to be, finding that perfect position.
Yep.
The second half is obviously, the deadlift, right? Warm up those hamstrings, those glutes, right? Those hip flexors, things like that. If you have lower back tightness and issue, you're definitely going to want to spend a little bit more time activating those glutes and hamstrings to make sure that they're working for you and they're sharing some of the load. Those erectors are going to get fired up and they're going to get really fatigued. Some of you more so than others. So just, make sure that those glutes, hamstrings are firing and working for you.
Yep. I love it. And when it comes to, we always talk about breaking the seal and getting yourself a little bit out of breath. Motion is lotion. Usually the more the better, especially when we consider now this week, unlike last week where it was 20-minute time domain, this week's under 9, and people are going to be finishing this workout, as crazy as it sounds, in about 6 minutes. So it's like one of those things where the intensity is going to start to be a little bit more front-loaded than last week. So it's important for you guys to feel like, all right, before I do this workout, I've definitely gotten sweaty, I've definitely got out of breath, recovered, and now I'm ready to attack this thing.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last piece is handstand walking, right? I think that you want to get in a rhythm, but I wouldn't do too much.
Right. It's
because
tricky.
You got a lot of work in the workout beforehand that's going to really throw a wrench into that warm-up, right? So I would just do enough to feel comfortable on your hands, maybe even just some like freestanding handstand holds, maybe even some work up against the wall, but I would really minimize it. There's a lot of people that came into the second half of this workout and that handstand walking really threw them for a loop, right?
Absolutely.
So there's only so much you can do there. Don't waste any reps, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a fine line. It's a balance of sorts. If you guys are out there and you know that you're going to get to the handstand walk and you're going to be able to execute it well, keep it low. Keep the volume low. If you guys are skeptical, like, I've got the capacity, I might make it through. Maybe you put off a day doing this workout and you practice handstand walks for 20 to 30 minutes the day before. And it's just some low volume but high skill, really focused practice. Because that could be the difference maker then when you kick up under fatigue, like body position wise. Maybe you focus on keeping your hands more narrow so that you're stacked appropriately, or maybe you're more patient so your heels can completely go over your center of gravity and they pull you forward. Those are just some things that I personally try to focus on. And so if you guys are out there still learning, and you're like, hey, if I can just get 5 feet this year, or 10 feet or 15 feet, maybe you do prolong that attempt, or just make sure that you're prepared to do 2 attempts, because I think that practice goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Footwear, right? I think that this is an opportunity that you can wear some light lifters if that's going to help specifically, cycling off the floor. It's really up to you. We don't want to throw anything new out to you. At this point, you shouldn't be reinventing the wheel. You shouldn't be trying anything new. But again, in your warm-up, if you're one of these people where you're trying to make a decision, try it out in the warm-up, make a game day decision. So
Yep.
I think that's really good.
I love it.
Yeah.
When it comes to execution.
Yes.
So now the tricky part. Everyone's going to see Diane. It's a benchmark workout. Remember, guys, it's not 2 separate scores. It's not rewarded for how fast you get through that portion. I mean, of course, there's a tiebreaker, so consider that, especially if you know you can't handstand walk at all.
Yep.
But, we've really got to balance this. So are there any numbers, Nick, that come to your mind like, hey, if you guys could do Diane unbroken, maybe here's how you break it up. If you know those reps are hard for you, maybe here's how you break it up instead.
Yeah, so, go back and watch your videos from, 2018.
Yep.
And I would just say, ask yourself, how did you break it out? What were you capable of? If you did a repeat, what did you change?
Right.
And base a little bit off of that and how much fitter you've gotten, right? If you've gotten 30% fitter, you can make some adjustments. So I would start there, honestly, right? Base it on what you're capable of. A couple years, a lot of work, hopefully you're putting in, you're getting better. But ultimately, I think that if you can do, Diane unbroken, look at Holte, right?
Right.
She broke it up.
Great lesson,
And
absolutely.
she
Smashed it.
I think it was a 240 Diane time, which arguably would be slow for her, right?
So if it was just one score, attack it for time, absolutely. Yeah, definitely score slow for her.
So for those of you who are elite and looking to get some of those top placements, you don't need to go unbroken, and I'm not sure if it's a smart idea, right? So, if you can go Diane unbroken, you might want to break it up once or twice, just a split second. And then the handstand push-ups, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, are you going to reach muscular fatigue?
Right.
I do like the mixing between strict and kipping.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's faster to be strict.
It's a faster cycle rate for most people, absolutely.
Yeah, but you got to be honest with yourself, right?
Right.
If you come out too hot, you're going to reach that muscle fatigue. So I think it's about considering how you're going to feel in the latter rounds.
I agree.
For sure, right? So that's my recommendations. That's how I look at for those of you who are reaching for some of those top spots. Now, we have a lot of other folks who maybe are just looking to finish on the time cap. So what are your thoughts in terms of that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, from a day-to-day perspective, I think you guys gotta really ask yourself a few things. Like, what's your 1 rep max deadlift, right? Is doing 21 deadlifts for you at 225 or 155, is that gonna stretch your limits? Meaning, like, I feel like I'm at the ends of my capacity if coach asks me to do 21 unbroken. Then what I'm gonna suggest is that you come out thinking about breaking out that very first set 3 times on the deadlift bar. And then potentially even more on the handstand push-ups. But really what I want you to think about is as you go through each round, almost breaking them into thirds. All right, so it could be 7-7-7 on round 1, 5-5-5 on the next round, 3-3-3. Maybe it's a little bit more conservative even on the round of 21, 3s for the round of 20 or 15, and then maybe you're good and you can go 9-9 because you've conserved that amount of energy. But really, it's all about like, okay, where's my capacity and where do I want to finish this workout? Because if you know you get to 315 and it's going to be like glued to the ground, or you get to 205 and it's going to be glued to the ground, then you need to be using the majority of your energy to get through Diane as fast as possible. But if you feel like, hey, I'm going to get there, and my goal this year is to get 25 feet of the handstand walk, well, we got to kind of balance some sorts, kind of do a little give and a little take where it's like, okay, I only have this amount of time to get through Diane because I know at 315 or 205, those 21 deadlifts are going to be troublesome or trying for me. So that means you might need to break it up. You might only be doing triples at 315, for example, because of those 45 reps of Diane, those kipping handstand push-ups. And if that's the case, you got to make sure that you're banking at least 2 minutes to get through those deadlifts so that you give yourself that opportunity to get to the handstand walk. So we're dealing with a wide array of capacity here. Like, 100%. I think that's the cool thing about this workout is that it's like, okay, a great test for everyone, Diane.
Yeah.
Can you finish it? Can you get it done? Awesome test, benchmark workout. But then it's like that next level, and a lot of people are going to start to fall in between those two. Yeah. Not finishing, but they're like, man, if I could just get 10 feet this year, I'll be crushing on the handstand walk.
And that's what I love about this workout is the handstand walking, right? So maybe you're working on handstand walking, maybe you're trying to get 5 feet, maybe you're trying to get your first,
Right,
step.
absolutely.
Right? Yep. This is such a fun workout for that sole reason, right?
Yep.
If you look back to 2018 and you were, 15 feet away from finishing, great goal, right?
Right.
Try to finish it.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to just watch the scores kind of come in. So repeatability, right?
Repeatability. That is an interesting thing to talk about with this workout because you're going to start to see all the memes with Mike Tyson saying, "I broke my back." Final. It's just going to be there. I will probably post one myself. I think this really has to, more specifically than the other 2 weeks, this is going to be an ode to the training system that you're a part of, what your coach has been programming for you, like what your recovery is like. But I think, a lot of top tier athletes can get through a workout like this and feel pretty good in about 36 hours.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
Like almost and be back to that same movement pattern, hinging and pressing again, and they're almost as good as new.
Yeah.
The rest of the population, I don't know.
So I would look at it 100%. I would look at your average week's training.
Yeah.
In terms of deadlifting. Now, handstand push-ups, right? You know, you're looking at 45 plus a whole bunch of handstand walking.
Right.
That's not absurd, right? That's somewhat reasonable. So
and normally not too destructive.
yeah,
Like the movement in itself, we're kipping. Hopefully you're not like doing an eccentric handstand push-up every time to lower your head gently or anything. So it's like usually you can get in that, maybe fatigue, but not too much soreness, I don't think.
Exactly, right? And central nervous system is not going to be affected that much from the hands. But the deadlift, right? I think the deadlift is something to consider. If you, on a regular basis, get, you know, I'd say 100 to 125 opportunities to cycle a barbell off the ground, then your ability to repeat this is going to be, you know, you're going to be in a lot better place than someone who maybe only touches it, you know, maybe 40 to 60 times during the week. So it's going to depend a little bit about how you've been training. I know what we've been preparing our folks for. You guys should crush it. Super, super excited. And yeah, I think that's it. So honestly, I think for most people, it's going to be one and done. Even in 2018, I remember that, you know, people felt recovered, right? I remember our athletes, they felt recovered. They were like excited, they had a better game plan, and then they'd show up Monday and central nervous system kind of snuck in there. A little bit of, you know, those erectors got super fired up really quickly. So it's I think it's really important to be honest with yourself and say, is this a one and done or can you repeat it? Definitely not three-peat. I don't think so.
No, I agree. I agree. You don't want to find yourself in that circumstance or situation. If you feel like you're tempted to want to kind of revisit this thing more than twice, and it's like spend a day in between all that doing some skill work, like work on the handstand walk. Maybe you'll do better under duress that second go round, but you don't want to be doing 3 Dianes and then, you know, another 45 deadlifts at 315 saying that hopefully you're optimally finishing the workout. You don't want all that throughout the course of the weekend. That's going to set yourself up for a rough next 2 weeks. 100%. Because truly you're going to dig yourself in quite the deficit there with your central nervous system specifically. You may never feel it, but you're going to go to pick up that bar next week to train and you're going to be like, ooh, it's not moving.
Yeah, exactly. And I think your ability to recover from you know, your first attempt is going to be crucial. What I think about is central nervous system, and then just metabolic waste, metabolic fatigue, like in terms of like regional local muscle endurance. And what I mean by that is that, you know, your hamstrings, erectors, glutes, just from the deadlift, are just going to be just destroyed, right, to some degree. So you want to get in there and move that blood around, right? You want to get rid of that metabolic waste. There's a ton of tools out there that you can kind of go to, but essentially, cool down is going to be huge, right? So I think what I think about is contrasting showers, right? Cold, hot. You
Love
want
those.
to get, exactly, right? Constricting blood vessels, right? And then expanding, and getting that new blood flow. Even getting on a bike right after, right? There's going to be a lot of eccentric loading in this workout, and so just think about in the time between, you know, your first attempt, second, just avoid any eccentric work in general. That's one thing. What else do you think that folks out there can do to kind of take advantage of that recovery to show up on Monday in the best possible spot?
You know, gosh, I think a lot of it's going to be, you know, keeping, I know this sounds contrary, but keeping the front of your body open and loose. So even focusing on your hip flexors, the tighter that muscle group becomes, even though we're hinging and we're doing most of the work with our posterior, the tighter this muscle group becomes in the front of our body, quads, hip flexors, it's fighting against our ability to extend, right? And so it's like kind of like this hidden aspect of like, hey, you know, if those muscles are tight, standing up at the top of your deadlift costs just a little bit more per repetition. In a workout like this, especially then where we're kicking upside down, I think that's just one of the biggest overlooked aspects of this is that, of course, we're hinging with the deadlift, but because you're probably kipping, if not all, the majority of these handstand push-ups, that's also hip extension we're coming through, right? Like you're going to extend the hips, straighten the legs, straighten the legs, straighten the legs. And so being mindful of that, I even like to go through a bit of some core activation stuff after a workout like this, just to kind of like counteract all the extension that's happening. Maybe some hollow holds, some bridge work. It kind of puts me back into alignment a little bit after that.
Love it. Central nervous system is going to be crushed for most people. Carbohydrates is the first thing I think about, right? Depending on your nutrition, obviously don't try anything new. But carbohydrates, making sure you have adequate, if not a little bit extra, to, you know, help with that central nervous system is going to be huge. A lot of research out there to support that. So don't be shy of those cookies, ice cream, you know, waffles, whatever it is, right?
I'll be staying away from all that until tomorrow, and then I'll have some. But
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Anything else? We're good to go.
Yeah.
20.3 has been straightforward.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll be coming at you tomorrow with our second thoughts, take 2.
Take 2.
Adrian's going to go ahead and get this done tonight.
Yep, I'll do it tonight live for the Brutes, so they'll get to see me do the attempt. I didn't do it in 2018, so this will be a first for me. I'm excited to give it a go. And then, we'll have a group of athletes rolling tomorrow morning. We'll kind of break it down and be back again with even in more depth advice and some things to maybe play with when it comes to strategy and game planning.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let us know how you do. Go ahead and message us, DM us if you got questions. Yeah, hit us up.
Yep, let us know what information we're leaving out that you want to hear.
Exactly.